what this is all about. I tell people all the time, look, I can get elected, but if there aren't local electeds, city councils that can access the funds, or board of supervisors that access, we have safe routes to school grants, so no kids should be walking on the side of the roadway without curbs, gutters, and the sidewalk. And so, but if the board of supervisors or the city council members don't know about it, or if they don't access it, then it becomes really, really difficult. All the time I get asked, what are you doing for the homeless? And the bottom line is there are tons of homeless dollars. But again, if the community isn't ready to tackle it and to take on the people that say not in my backyard, then the money doesn't get utilized. And so I'm here to tell you, I went and we did a tour of your homeless shelter. I'm really proud of San Benito County. I think you're doing a great job, but there's a need for more housing. We need to build more. And one of the things that concerns me is that there are two communities where I did a small town hall meeting. There were 40 or 50 people that showed up, Gilroy and here in Hollister, and pre-pandemic. And I was asked in each one of those communities, each one of the community meetings, about housing and whether the community could adopt an ordinance to halt all housing development. That was here in Hollister and in Gilroy. And what I said is, that's always, you have that process, which is you put stuff on the ballot. But if you do, you'll receive no state funds, period. No road funds, no housing funds, no funds for the food bank. All of that disappears because it goes against state policy to not build housing. And so the challenge we have is to try to figure out how do we take care of the concerns that people have. They've got valid concerns. 25 is a mess, but it's a mess because we're providing housing for communities that haven't built enough. And so they're going further and further. And I don't see how people drive Pacheco Pass every day. I mean, I get on that road once, and it's every week, and I pray, because it's just, there's crazy people, lots of trucks, and it's just not something you want to do every day. And if you're tired or you're distracted or something falls down on on the bottom of your car and you get distracted for a second, you're in trouble. So we've got to do everything we can to try to build the infrastructure up and to do it in a way that has people realize that we're working on it and we're trying to get things done. So affordable housing has been one of my number one issues. It is, it depends on which community you are in as to what the definition of affordable is, right? The median income, and this is old stuff, but the median income up in Silicon Valley is $100,000 per person. That you just don't earn that in either in San Benito County or in the Salinas Valley or in Merced. No part of my district. And so the challenge is how do we lift up the salaries in those communities so that we can provide a wage, a livable wage, without having to increase the minimum wage, right? I'm very sensitive to that. The entry-level wage was always intended to be your first job. And frankly, right, there were a whole bunch of jobs that young kids did, right? Because that was how you started, and that's how when I was in high school, I worked at an Arby's, and it was a great first job, right? I haven't been back since I did that, but yeah, those roast pieces sandwiches were pretty good, but
they get old after a while.
They do get old after a while, but it becomes really difficult because now you have adults that depend on that salary working in those jobs, and I don't know how we got to that point, but I think that's part of the challenge is how do we take the educational system, bump it up, and provide opportunity. So let me tell you a couple of the things that I've been working on, and I don't like doing this. Here's what I've been working on, but a good wage, housing, healthcare, and water have been the issues all over the district. And the district is Salinas Valley, San Benito County, all of Merced County, and then if you figure 99 West, Stanislaus County, Madera County, and Fresno County. So goes all the way down to Kalinga and Kingsburg and San Ardo. And so it's big. But the redistricting committee just scrambled that all up. And this district is number 12. They also scrambled up the numbers. And a majority of my district stayed in the Central Valley. So now I am solidly in the Central Valley, and San Benito County and the Salinas Valley went to the coastal region, and it went from being a 56% Latino district to a 27% Latino district, along with Santa Cruz, the Monterey Peninsula, down to a little bit of San Luis Obispo. So that election is not until 2024. So although my election is 2022, it would be an orphan area with no representation, because the person that's in that district is John Laird, great guy, but it's new to him, and so I've asked the Senate to allow me to continue representing San Benito County and the Salinas Valley, and although they've said preliminarily yes. They have to wait till after the election and after we get new senators elected, and then there's a process that we go through. So I tell you that because I had my law practice in Salinas, and my satellite office was here for 25 years. So I worked right down the street for 25 years, and this community has a really warm place in my heart, because there's so much good and so much great things going on here, and there's so much potential. So anyway, that's that. I'm running for re-election, and what they added on, they also took Stanislaus County. Now, if you think San Benito County was kind of just whipsawed and thrown somewhere, Stanislaus County got whipsawed and thrown to a district that goes from Tahoe all the way down to Death Valley. So you can't get to Stanislaus County without going through these back roads up into the mountains. It's crazy. I mean, community of interest is just crazy. So the district that I'm running in is now numbered the 14th, and it'll be the same Merced County, although a little piece of the area up near Delhi went in with Stanislaus County. Why? I don't know. It's really weird. And it goes all the way down to it also goes over to Reedley and Parlier, and has about 80% of the city of Fresno. So what changed is that it's not a all rural agricultural district, which is what I had before. It's got a big urban center, and Fresno is, I think, the 9th largest city in the state of California. So there's a lot that's going on there. So one of the things I've been working on around the good jobs is that agriculture is changing. It is fundamentally changing, and part of the reason is no labor. They can't find workers, and so and the workforce is aging. The median age is 50, 60 years old, and so and the other part of it is that it's just backbreaking hard work, and so they're starting to mechanize, and you probably have seen a lot of the mechanization that's going on. That mechanization requires that people know how to program the mechanization. They know how to fix it, which means welders and engineers, and you also need to be able to look at the data and know what it means. So most of the farms right now have electronic sensors that they're putting out that tell you when you need to water and how much you need to water, so that you're not wasting water thinking you need to water and you don't. I love doing tours because they're incredibly illuminating. The egg farms, you have 10,000 chickens, and they are fed, they are given water, and the air is cooled so that they don't die in this really awful heat. And there may be 4 people running the farm, because it's all electronic, and you can't afford for something to go wrong with that system. And the eggs are collected. I still didn't see, there's not a human hand that touches them until they come out of the water they put them through, and then they're put in the cartons. That's the only time. And I predict that pretty soon there'll be a machine that can pick up, that can pick that up and put it into the carton. And so we need, right now we're not producing the workforce that's doing this work. The other thing I saw was the cows, the milking. I mean, it's incredible. They have built these carousels where the cows walk up onto a carousel, so that no longer are the individuals that are putting the milking devices on the cows down here. No longer are they bent over. The cow's butt is right here, so you just go like this and you put the machine on. The carousel goes around and milks the cow while the cow is going around on the carousel. And then at the end, the machines come off automatically, and they have to blow air in the face of the cow, because otherwise they'll stay on the carousel. They don't want to get off. But it's amazing. It's all mechanical, and there is a booth that has the milk coming in that can tell you the fat content, just everything you need to know about the milk, so that you can grade it for milk as a milk pasteurizing consumption, or does it go to powdered milk that then goes into all the mixes for making crackers and cakes and all that kind of stuff, because they go to different production lines. And so anyway, it's amazing. But again, there are two guys that are putting on the machines, and there's relatively very few workers, right? But there's more work in trucking that out and in making sure that all the machinery works well. And so there is a collaborative in the Central Valley that is put together by the Central Valley Foundation, and they call it their F3 project, and it's kind of a farm technology project, and I've been working with them. I went back to DC because we got to have that here in California. We have to understand and help develop this technology, and then make it practical for retraining the workforce. And then it's marketable anywhere in the world, because if we can do it here, we can do it anywhere, and we don't have to be importing engineers and mechanics from other countries. We can grow our own. We can grow our own and train our own. And part of the program, so there's 8 community colleges, and then UC Merced and Fresno State that are all part of this collaborative. They will be doing the curriculum, and then working on bringing in incumbent workers, figuring out what are the skills they have, because they already have skills, giving them credit for those skills, and then giving them the training that they need so that they can get AAs and certificates in order to be able to then market themselves to say, I've got this certificate, I got this training. And so that's one example of the kinds of innovation and work that we can do. We were able to get pretty close to about $45 million from the state budget over a number of cycles. And then the federal government just gave them the biggest grant from the Department of Commerce, a $65 million grant for that work as well. So we're here, and I think there's a great synergies between those community colleges and the universities and our region, because we're going to need this technology. We're going to need the trained workforce, and people move back and forth around this region, and so that's really exciting. The other thing that I worked, there are a number of things. One is broadband, and so we put $6 billion in the budget, but I also did a bill, and I did it it was one of the things that came up around COVID, because I started having meetings with people just to check in, and the internet was so spotty that there were people that just couldn't, they had internet, but it wasn't fast enough. And so it ends up that back in the day, when I was on the city council, we negotiated with our cable company and told them what channels we wanted, how much we wanted them to charge for a basic package. But then fast forward, they all got internet operability within their cable line. So Comcast does internet along with the programming, and when they moved to that, they didn't want to do contracts with all these little cities, and they didn't want to be told what to do, and so they got a statewide franchise. The state took away the authority of local government to control that. And why that became important is that's when the prices started going through the roof. Well, one of the agreements that they agreed to back when when they moved to a statewide franchise is that they would not discriminate against poor communities in terms of not giving them service. Because that's what we did, right? We wanted to make sure every single part of our community got the service, and that we had Spanish language servicing and programming for children and those kinds of things. So the long and short of it is that they give the federal government licenses the internet companies, but we license the cable companies at the state level. And when we took a look at the maps, sure enough, the communities that couldn't Zoom with us were the communities that were poor. And so I did a bill that would require them to give us more information and give us the information they're giving to the FCC in order to determine whether we think we should take away that statewide license. I would have just taken away their statewide license, but I wasn't going to get through the legislature. So it was modified, and then in the process we put $6 billion into the state fund, and we're starting to build the middle mile infrastructure around the state. And little by little we'll get it done, and we may have to go back and take away that statewide franchise, but right now we're trying to work on it. And what was really, really important is that those people who could not Zoom with me, I asked them to testify at the hearings. So they were able to give testimony in Senate hearings through Zoom. Of course, they had to go to their local library and pirate the internet from there, and it was really powerful, because these are people who I saw. We'd have a meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening during the winter. It was like, I had a couple from Gustine that regularly Zoomed with me. It was 105 at one time during the summer, and really cold, like 35 degrees. Another time, and they're sitting out in the parking lot, in their car. I could see their car in their car, and they gave testimony about how their community's been discriminated against. So it was really powerful. So the great thing about us holding hearings, I did a vaping tax, which provides resources to early childhood education, and will help with funds for the UC Merced Medical Center and the Fresno State Medical Center. They've been working with UC San Francisco to be able to train doctors that go to UC San Francisco, but then are from the Valley and want to work in the Valley, and so they come back for their residencies, and they get it there at those universities. If you can get doctors trained in the community, they stay. They'll stay in rural California. So this is going to be very beneficial for small hospitals around the area, and being able to. Again, there were a group of students from Madera who had been educating their fellow students about the risk of tobacco use in vaping products. Kids don't know that's tobacco that's in that product, and so they did testimony on my bill about vaping. So it was great to have young kids from Madera, calling in on Zoom or Zooming in and telling about the work that they're doing as well. So these kinds of community meetings become really important, because if you've got an issue that I can work on that fundamentally will change the way things happen in the community, then we can work together, and I can do the kind of meetings where you can get on and testify at hearings before you'd have to drive 2.5 hours, sit around for half the day before the committee hearing, and it's really hard. It's really hard. I did that a lot as mayor, and I hated it, because it's 2 minutes, and 2 minutes goes like this, and meanwhile then you go, oh, I gotta drive home now. So thank you for sharing what you're doing, and know that when you apply for a state grant, we write letters of support. So if you let us know that you've got a grant application in, then we can help, and we can dog it. We can be calling their office and saying, when is this going to be released? How can we work together? There also is money specifically in the budget this year for housing for students. What I don't know is exactly where it's at. So we should look if there's room on a campus to build housing. Let's get it prepped and ready to go so that we can access funding for student housing, because we know that the percentage of students that are homeless, they're couch surfing or living in someone's garage, or it is really unbelievably high, and it's all over the state. So the more that we can remedy that, I don't see how you study when that's the case. I think it's very difficult. So the more that we can work together, that would be really good. And I was the author of the bill that provided resources for small businesses grants, because as I was talking to small businesses, it was really clear to me that they were going to go under unless they had some resources. The federal PPP program was great, but it didn't provide the resources. And out of that small grant program, we did a micro grant program for very small businesses, and that application is really simple, and it's $5,000, no ifs, ands, or buts. So the little trucks, the taco trucks, or the ice cream paleteros, or the somebody who's has their truck and they're selling the produce from the fields. All of they're small businesses, as long as they can show that most of them have gotten a license with the city, and so as long as they have that, that's all they need. They don't have to show a business plan or anything else. So if I don't even know if that's still open, but that came this year, and so really important to get cash in the hands of people that are really hardworking, because they were hurt by the pandemic as well. So I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions. I think some of you have to leave, so please, I don't want to hold you back.
I have to leave.